Hey everyone, hi, this is Samrat Kishore and I welcome you all to the Baseline Show. This is our October General Assembly and we have quite a gathering today and a quite interesting one because a lot of our participants today are joining us from DevCon in Bogota. So a very warm welcome to everybody who's joined us today on the Zoom call. Of course, I will let Sonal introduce. I can see Mark, I can see Yoav, um, and who's the other gentleman behind? I don't see him properly.
Yeah, this is Shad. We met him at ETH Atlanta last year.
Oh
He
yes, 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 yes.
hackathon.
Hey, hey, good to see
Yes.
you, man.
He's ready to re-enter the baseline community, and he'll give us some updates on what he's been up to towards the end of our
Exciting.
update. And then
That-
we have Otto over with Andreas, and then we have
All right,
I kind of escaped.
and we have Charles.
Charles and
Charles.
James and the EEA crew. We also have Kale here. We have Karthik. So we're gonna try and get everyone together at some point and get some pictures and chat about baseline.
That is super amazing. Thank you so much, Sonal. And we also have Claudia from Oasis to talk to us about the elections today. And my nominations, we have Mark Haddle, we have WebHub, we also have the very amazing Provide team with us today for some community updates, much awaited community updates. We've been building up to these updates since a while, and I'm sure these are all not going to fit into one episode, so we're going to do two episodes with them. So yeah, with that, let's kick off our October General Assembly. And why don't we first hear what's happening at Bogota? What's the temperature like, and what's the vibe?
60 degrees and cloudy.
Yeah, it was supposed to rain all week, which it hasn't. So we're very pleased with that, but a little cloudy, which isn't too bad. And yesterday in one of the talks, they said there's over 5,000 people here. So it's packed. And everyone's just been long awaiting the next DevCon conference. So it's really cool because you see people you've met online or you've heard about, and you get to see each other in person. So it's been really nice.
Yeah, the most anticipated event of the year is happening there. By the way, I saw a very funny tweet. It said, "Did anybody inform Bogota that this was happening there? Because is the city ready for us?" So
Yeah.
okay,
I saw some MetaMask and other billboards places, which is pretty cool. And it's really cool to see people from around South America, and they're just like they didn't expect to have a local event anytime soon. So that's been inspiring.
yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. And yeah, how's the let's go to pod number two, Andreas and Otto and Keith.
Me personally, I've been, well, you get the,
I,
okay.
I-
I've been really impacted with the Latin community, like, folks from Peru, from Chile, I've been talking to, from Medellin. Apparently, a guy was telling me they have over 300 Ethereum developers, which I was like, that's how big the Medellin Ethereum community is. Pretty cool. Yeah, lots of interesting talks. I mean, obviously Argentina as well, right? Guys from Mexico, like, yeah, just amazed,
Yeah, Chile, it's like I met one from Uruguay yesterday.
No, yeah, just really, really impressed. I was also at the Eat Bogota hackathon. Like, yeah, just amazing to see like the vibrancy of the community, all the cool projects they're working on, especially I think around regenerative finance seems to be a recurring topic. Yeah, because like I think there's opportunities there. So.
Yeah, I think it just happened at quite the right time when you all were just landing there. Okay, so and what's the uptake of baseline? Do you meet people who know about EA, who know about baseline?
Well, we have been going around. Go ahead. No, we have been going around. So baseline is not a thing yet. But people understand when you're saying, well, it's coordination under zero knowledge, and they're like, oh, yeah, like roll ups and stuff. It's like, yeah, kind of like, and they're like, yep. And then so it's so there's in the broader Ethereum community, there's we need to do more outreach and more education, and we didn't have like a dedicated baseline talk here. So I think that is it, we really should make an effort to have those at the big events, and pull some weight with EF.
Yeah, but I did hear from Dan that he had a special mention of baseline in his talk.
He did.
Yeah, so now you're
I got some pictures with baseline on the screen. But yeah, it's a different crowd here, of course, because it's Web3. So some of the people you're talking to are like, well, I have this company. So there's a lot of collaboration, especially when you say zero knowledge. People are very interested. That's a hot topic here, but it is highlighting some of the efforts we're doing in the outreach team for attending different events like Gartner conferences and kind of like the industry focused events where the anomalies is, I think, where we're going to have a big impact from baseline. But I have surprisingly come across a few people who honestly, they're in our ecosystem in some way, from Consensus or their EEA or different groups, but they knew about baseline and they're kind of watching and excited to have more materials around existing and new reference implementations. So it is exciting. And I think we're at the right state of mind now with some of the work we did in the TSC, like with the roadmap to just really start at ground zero for pushing the standard forward.
Super. That's so good to hear. Yeah, and yeah, let's just hope that baseline becomes a thing very, very soon, and we're all greeted with a lot of fanfare each time we go to these events. And yeah, let's hope that a lot of people start baselining really soon. It's so good to hear about the vibrancy of the community in that part of the world. Okay, with that, let me come on to a little bit of the October updates. So let's start with Mark Haddle on the outreach team.
You basically just keep moving along when it comes to the outreach materials and the collateral that we're starting to put together to really help showcase the SRI, our BRI3, or actually any of the reference implementations as far as getting it out there, because you get a lot of people saying, how do I get started? We want to be able to have that quick answer for that. And all that will go in tandem with the development work on that. We did kind of start to socialize a little bit of an idea with the TSC to see if we could maybe put together a CRM tracker, but so that we can, as we talk to more and more people, so that we can be able to curate all these people, all of the people that we've talked to, give a little bit of, idea about what we talked about and, who we can contact for next steps. So that's been working. We've got updated collateral that's coming out with new stickers and new things to share when you start to socialize baseline. Coming up at the end of this month is All Things Open, which is going to be in Raleigh, North Carolina. So I will be there because it's local to me. I'm going to be helping man the booth and walking around and socialize and, talk to anybody and everybody about baseline. How it's really simple, but it solves so many problems that people have to live with every day. And it's like, wouldn't it be great if you didn't have to live with that? So that is the end of this month. And so, I'll be helping out there. And that's pretty much the updates that we have going on right now.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. Mark Rimza, do you have any updates to add?
Yeah, I do. The Blip 1 working group effort is going well. We made it through most of the user story grooming that we've been exercising. It's about a general international customs border patrol supply chain use case. We're mapping out all the state objects that need to transition state verifiably and correctly. We're listing out their properties. We're talking about what ZK validation is needed, specifically for the properties in each of those objects. And we're talking about the anchoring if it's needed, if not, what we're actually getting out of it. And we're trying to create a repeatable decision-making model that we can apply to other use cases in different industries. This one is specifically supply chain, where we're working with SAP right now, but there are certainly some other industries and people in adjacent industries that are interested in what's going on in this working group. And I think the hope is that we can get through this. We're about done grooming the user story, and we could, start on some finance use cases or what have you. And I think next up, once we get through this grooming, we're gonna talk about the SSI layer component that could go into this user story that we're talking about here. So good stuff, intellectually stimulating, great exercise. And that's the full, very detailed update of the Blip One working group. And
Awesome.
yeah, is there anything else you want to talk about, Samrat?
No, that's awesome. And thanks so much, Mark, for the update. I was not hoping to hear so many updates while you were there. So you all chill, have fun. I'm really jealous, by the way, looking at the EA background and everybody around that one table. So it would have been really cool to be there. So yeah, it's awesome that you all caught up. Okay, Sonal, do you have any updates? We just move forward.
Yes, I think I can kind of breeze through the rest of the categories of updates to give time to other things we want to focus on, as well as reintroduce Shad to our community. But as usual, our TSC group is having our bi-weekly calls and working through important development discussions, as well as talking about the roadmap. I know Claudia will cover where we're at in the TSC elections, but we are at the end of our 2021 period. Yes, so I'm excited to see who remains and who joins for the next committee. And also our core devs, we have our next call on Monday. We're working through the items on the roadmap, as well as different blips we have open. There's frequent PRs and work happening in the repo. Thanks to our core devs working on the simple reference implementation, as well as some of the other efforts. We're continuously circulating the RFPs that we have open. I think I'm not alarmed that we haven't gotten someone yet this year, because there's a lot of groups that could potentially be the right fit. So we're excited to see when we find the right identity group to work on the 2 RFPs for identity, as well as the test harness. So things are moving along. Of course, as we near the end of the year with holidays and such, we'll expect things to slow down a bit, but I'm very pleased with what we've accomplished so far in the last month. I think that's it from me.
Super awesome. And there is something which actually I'm working on, where maybe, I may have found a team which is ready to pick up 2 of the RFPs. So yeah, let's see how that pans out. They're still like 80% confident. So I still said, guys, you just go back, take some time and be 100% confident before you come. Okay, so that's on. I don't want to speak too soon, but let's just see how that goes. Okay, I would like to invite Claudia now to talk a little about what's going on with the nominations.
I'll keep it short. It's looking great. We currently have 17 candidates. So that should be an interesting election. The call for nominations is open for 2 more days until Friday this week. We're hoping to have many of the candidates on the baseline show next week. Hopefully, I will reach out to all of them in the next couple of days. Some of you have already sent in candidate statements, which are great, which we want to send out so people get to know you a bit better. But yeah, it's looking good. I think that's it, basically. So the voting period will be from October 20th to November 3rd. That's when the ballot opens on October 20th. And eligible voters are those who had a pull request merged in the past 6 months to the main baseline repositories. yeah, I think from me, there's nothing else to say unless you have any questions.
No, that's very exciting, Claudia, and it's good to see. While I was getting all those emails, I didn't realize that we have already got 17 nominations.
It's
So
fantastic.
that's actually, I think last year we had about 20.
Something like that, or a bit less even, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, even less, I think. Yeah. So that means that there's more interest in shaping up the protocol and
Yeah.
participating in, how it's getting built. That's awesome. And thank you all for those who've sent in their nominations. And if you're on the edge, please do nominate yourself. I will be hosting the candidates in the following two baseline shows for them to be able to talk about their statement and their motivations, etc., to be part of the TSC. So that's on the sponsorship of that's on the election updates. We don't have, unfortunately, Carol today to talk about sponsorships, so we'll skip that part. Sonal, do you have any updates? I don't have any updates on the sponsorships yet in the past month.
No, I don't either.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll skip that for now. We have grants. So do you want to talk about any of the grants work?
I can cover it.
We have Vaibhav on the call here, one of our core dev community members who's working on the Calendly blip with his grant associated with it. So maybe if we have time, we can ask him for some update.
Vaibhav, are you around?
Yeah, I'm around. So I would like to kind of quickly show something. Let me just share my screen.
Share your screen. This is just updates.
Oh, okay. So I will just so the basic update is that the backend is completed and the repo was pushed to it, and then the front end part is also 90%, and it's just that some of it is remaining, and yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Okay, Sonal, back to you. You want to bring in Shad now?
Yes, so we have Shad here, and I will let him give an introduction of himself, but he started a blockchain unit at CGI Federal that he is leading, and has been watching the protocol to find the right points to contribute and demo things within his networks. But also he won the hackathon this weekend, did solo development, and it's very impressive. They had, I don't know, over 100 submissions, right? Yeah. So he can tell us a little more about his project as one of our last GA updates, and I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Sonal. I know some of the faces here I met in ETH Atlanta. I don't know if you guys remember me coming up with the term enterprise degen. I would like to do an update to that term. There's a new term come up with, enterprise regen. We're going towards regenerative finance. That's a new thing now, enterprise regen. So yes,
hashtag for today.
Yes, hashtag for today. Please tweet that out. But
and I think once an enterprise degen, always an enterprise degen.
Hey, Kyle, you are you're the king of enterprise degen. Yes,
indeed.
So,
I am.
It's really good to connect back. I was actually kind of sad to hear I got kicked out of being a core dev from Andreas. But remember,
Andreas got you.
I had a push to the README file after the hackathon, so I'm technically a core dev. This is my re-entry back.
Technically, you're allowed to vote.
Oh, I'm allowed to vote, so that's an honor.
There's that.
But you're more than welcome back. There's grants.
Exercise your vote judiciously, bro.
Can you tell us about give us a little brief on the project you did for the hackathon?
Sure, yeah. So the project name was called Beacon. It's an acronym. It stands for Blockchain Enabled Access Control. So essentially the problem with today, Web3 today, is that there are no, advanced access control or permissioning. It's just binary. It's just like a blacklist or a whitelist or token gates. So, enterprises need those advanced level permissioning. So what I had done is create a series of smart contracts that essentially allow you to add additional attributes to a real world identity using a soulbound NFT. So the idea is to allow segregation of information between departments. So if you are a person in this organization, in this department with these credentials, only you should be able to see this specific blockchain asset. So this has been, a long time in the making, actually over a year now, what I've been working on at CGI, but the implementation was with ERC20. And this past weekend, I had integrated soulbound NFTs. So that was the big challenge with those smart contracts. But now we can enable governments and enterprises to have those advanced level permissioning where you can have secure levels of access. So only, HR should be able to see HR things, only finance and legal, everything is separated. So now think about how DAOs can use this. Think about, how government enterprise level organizations can use this. So this is to bridge that gap that exists today in blockchain. I think without this, we will never see governments and enterprises use blockchain because everything is public, everything is transparent. In real world, we can't have everything be transparent. So I'm really excited to, come back to baseline because the next step for this is zero knowledge integration. And, I know my bigger goal here is to create a Web3 toolkit for the federal government. And I see baseline as one of those Lego pieces. And I'm talking to so many different government agencies, and I want to be able to rapidly spin something up and be able to demo use cases. And I think baseline is going to play a big part. And I'm excited to hear how far baseline has come. So, I hope to demo these back to the customers and get something in production. I want to be able to say there's something in production that is being used within the government. That's my biggest goal. So.
Awesome.
I hope that
great.
brings excitement back to this community.
Yes, it does.
Absolutely. You know what? Deployment in production happens to be the flavor of the month. We can talk about this on the monthly General Assembly. Thank you so much. This is so exciting, and you're welcome back into the community, Shad. And
yeah, I need to hear from Andreas.
That's hard.
James approved.
Okay.
Oh, you have James.
Like what?
Love the energy, man.
Yeah, I love the energy. Okay, so I think that's all from us on the monthly updates from the community. I know that folks in Bogota would want to go back to having fun and attending all the events and meeting so many new people. Kudos to you all for bearing the baseline flag in Bogota. And now I would like to call upon the leaders from Provide who are here with us today for community updates. Kyle is here, Taylor, Devin, Jack, Ryan, all of you are welcome to go ahead, take the floor, and amaze us with all the updates.
Thanks, Samrat. Appreciate you having us. And Andreas, Andreas and I think we have some sort of interoperability meetup coming, after DevCon. So that'll be awesome. So yeah, we've been pretty heads down and busy building a business at Provide. We've been working with customers and really, building out revenue models, understanding how different, enterprise systems can be, and connectors for those systems can be, scaled into actual, production environments at, banking organizations, soft drink bottling organizations, and many other types of organizations as well. And so, the team has grown a little bit, and, I'm really proud of of our team at Provide. We're still really small, but we're packing more punch than ever in terms of it's just really starting to hit on all cylinders in terms of how we work together here. So super proud of the team, and also very proud of the baseline community and what's been going on with the ongoing development of BRI3. I think there's some legs there. And I'm hoping to see how it becomes interoperable in the coming months with the Provide stack. We've also in the meantime continued to execute on our vision for open sourcing the Provide stack, and we officially formed the PRVD open project under Oasis as well. And the founding organizations, in addition to Provide, include Synadia, which is the commercial entity behind Nats, Chainlink, Polygon, Bank United, an organization called DataBrains, and a European organization called Haas Online. So really proud of how that project has can't come together. It really, the charter calls for really making it sort of work hand in hand with the baseline protocol and BRI1 in terms of a end-to-end test harness for the PRVD stack. So all the source code for our implementation of the baseline protocol lives under the PRVD Oasis repo on GitHub, and essentially the BRI1 reference implementation inside of the baseline repo, which we will demonstrate end to end. I believe if it's not next week, I think Samrat, maybe the following show, one of the upcoming shows. We will whenever we're able to not conflict with other guests and agenda items, come in and show and really.
We're doing it next week. We're doing it next week, guys.
Next week, let's get it perfect. Can't wait. In addition to showing the BRI1 harness next week, we're gonna I think have sort of a takeover block of time, I hope, where we can really deep dive into these connectors that we've been building along the lines of a few different flavors of our ServiceNow integration, which we've really deepened some partnerships on the enterprise side with organizations such as ServiceNow. Working towards this really interesting relationship perhaps with SAP with this Pro UBC open source connector that Ryan has been building, and Ryan can speak more to that here in just a second. So we're just really focusing on building a business with real customers using this tech, and it's starting to the fruit of all of the labor that went into to this is starting to really become apparent, and just can't wait to see these customers just gushing over how much value they're getting out of this protocol. It's certainly coming. So yeah, Ryan, you want to talk a little bit about your efforts with Pro UBC, and I mean, it's just a sick project.
Yeah,
I think it's the first of its kind in the world
in SAP, right? Especially.
That's what That's what I mean.
Exactly. And there are other open source SAP projects, but not like this one, right? Not that use zero knowledge and integrate smart contracts on blockchain networks. Right. So very exciting.
Integrate the baseline protocol, right?
And integrate the baseline protocol, no less. Right. So many great attributes of Pro UBC. One of the things that we're working very hard on is, documenting it, making it so that it's very easy from the open source repo to actual implementation into additional SAP systems to just run and gun with that thing across SAP environments. And
the data marshaling, right? Like that's one of I think it's such an overlooked complexity of the protocol, right? Is
exactly
how the SAP systems, how data in an SAP system can actually be synchronized with data that lives in another system, or even an Excel spreadsheet, and how that can just magically and seamlessly work. That's just a complexity that we've been spending a lot of time on. Right.
Yeah, the one of the use cases of using Pro UBC is baselining an IDOC right? And if for people outside the SAP domain don't know much about that, but iDocs are like the native EDI format of SAP, and they can be enormous. They can be very complex data types. So what we'll demonstrate in our like blowout demo of it is, you know, how do we baseline, how do we apply zero knowledge to something like an iDoc, right? And why would you do that, right, as well? There's use cases of that for tokenizing the asset, but it's also for like business process optimization, like business process management, right? Or even something like archival, as well as, you know, when you take data out of the production system and you want a long-term history of, is my archived data correct, right? You could use baseline for that too. We have some exciting things going on with ProUBC. In the weeks to come, the Chainlink hackathon is kicking off, and we, you know, with ProUBC, we developed a smart contracts interface for ABAP. So we're going to give that some legs and you know, showcase, you know, using Chainlink smart contracts, you know, within the context, within the four walls of SAP. So that's what's coming ahead. And we're really excited to show that off. We got a really great reception from all the Link Marines out there, and SAP people as well, about, you know, what is the kind of the Web3 business values there. A quick plug for a recent blog I put up on the Provide website, called Intro to Web3 on SAP, right? Where we talk, what I talk about there is like, and this is really directed at like the SAP audience who doesn't necessarily always know much about Web3. They have a very surface level understanding. And, you know, in that blog, I do talk about what the importance of baseline is and the application of zero knowledge that baseline informs, and how that makes the Web3 integration to something like SAP possible and makes it work the best way possible. So very excited to share that as well. And I'm really excited, you know, next week where we get more time to demo, to showcase more about that, because it's really awesome seeing how ProUBC, you know, it augments the shuttle in a really great way. And, you know, the end outcome of that is that, you know, an ABAP developer, an SAP developer, who often has a lot of domain expertise, is often a really smart person, doesn't need to master all the intricacies of zero knowledge to be able to use zero knowledge and to apply baseline. So that's, we're very excited to show that soon.
You know, and what's really been interesting through this you know, these recent months on our journey towards, you know, like commercializing the PRVD stack has been really how, as an ecosystem, you know.
Hey Kyle, you're on.
You're on mute. You're on mute. Your volume is.
No, it's not.
He's not mute.
Okay.
You're on
You're mute.
Okay, I can start. So one of the really interesting things that that I've, you know, sort of noted. Can you guys hear me? Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, one of the really interesting, you know, things that I've noticed on the last few months of this journey has been, as we've gone towards commercializing the PRVD stack, organizations that are essentially operators, like organizations who, you know, who sign up essentially using Shuttle to create an ecosystem. Let's just say there's one workflow they have in mind, right? That they want to start baselining. They sign up, you know, using Shuttle, and they have, like, you know, their initial, you know, first. Everyone has an initial, like, first organization that they're going to invite to the work group, right? And start baselining these workflows with. And it's interesting because, you know, the ecosystem operator, they have a reason, you know, for wanting to do that. And the first degree of separation, the first, you know, that first degree organization that's being invited by the operator, they might have their heels out. They might, you know, they might not. But if they do, what's interesting is how the system, the method by which the first organization is using the stack and the protocol in a specific system of record is not necessarily the way the second organization that was invited wants to use it. and or is willing to, you know, to use it in terms of adoption. And so what we've been sort of having to work through is how to architect, you know, very elegant solutions for either method. For example, one being for like deploying the stack on your own infrastructure, the other being like, for example, you have an existing REST API that you integrate with, and essentially being able to continue to call that same API, but have like this sort of sleight of hand, it's a proxy for all intents and purposes, that sits in front of the stack that's also deployed could be deployed on the second organization's infrastructure, or it could be a SaaS deployed solution. So that's been a really there's been a lot of maturity, I think, that has been derived from just having to go through and really just getting boots on the ground in terms of our traction. So that's been very exciting. I'll stop talking and share the floor a little bit, maybe. Davin's got been working on Shuttle. I think he'll be demoing that next week. So we'll demo Shuttle, we'll demo Pro UBC, we'll demo Provide Sync, which is our ServiceNow integration. We'll show a couple of different integration methods. Bye, Keith. See you, man. Bye, Andreas. See you guys. So we'll demo those things. We'll demo the BRI1 test harness. So super excited for that. And David, do you want to say anything about Shuttle?
Sure. Yeah. We've been really cranking on Shuttle, making it a little more robust, and really making it connector friendly, so that these connectors that we're building really work well and without too much for the operator to do to actually make them work. And I don't know if I've been on the show since we've done this, but we released a beta version of Shuttle.
Shuttle is nasty, David. Like you've done a great job, you and the team.
Thank you. And there is a beta version out that you can go poke around in at shuttle.provide.services. So that's pretty cool. We got that out there. Continuing to iterate on that. And then Kyle, you mentioned the Provide Sync app. That's actually going to be an app that's going to be available in the ServiceNow store. We've done a lot of work on that, incorporating ServiceNow into a baseline ecosystem has been a little tricky, but we've got it figured out. It's very elegant now, and we're really close to getting it certified in the ServiceNow App Store. We'll show it to you next week. Yeah, and those are my updates.
Oh, it's nasty.
And just to elaborate a little bit on that, I think Kyle made a great point there relative to, as we're navigating the waters with certain different customer environments and the way in which that they interact with their partner and supplier networks, it's important to have flexibility and the ability to deliver these type of solutions for customers. And so as we continue to embark on this journey from a baselining perspective and synchronizing these systems, we're gaining a lot of maturity, I think, as an ecosystem here to understand how to build these type of flexible solutions to still, achieve what it is that we're set to achieve from a baselining and synchronization perspective, but then also to drive value for the end user customers themselves and how they can most effectively engage with the partner and supplier networks like I was mentioning. So I think that has just been a really important lesson that we're finding as we're embarking on this. And these are the type of lessons that from an enterprise space that you have to really kind of walk through in order to be able to build these solutions to permeate across ecosystems. So
well said. Yeah, there's so much complexity in the protocol that's just tucked behind the scenes in the stack. And then there's so much complexity in the actual enterprise that it's just like, having that elegance, an elegant way to like bring all that together has been, it's quite amazing.
That's super. And is there any are there any use cases of interest which we can talk about on this show? I mean, which are the ones we should, because give me something to run with, so I want to take it to which company should I target?
So I mean, I think ITSM is a really big one. In service now.
IT service management. Just to clarify for those folks that may not be familiar with it. Yeah, any really service management module across ServiceNow, this can be applied to. We've primarily been focused within ITSM with the first large engagement that we have ongoing right now. But that with intention to move that to request management and across those ServiceNow modules as we move forward, change management inclusive of. And Samrat, to provide a little bit more clarity there. So one example could be a customer is working with their managed service provider, and that managed service provider provides all their Office 365 support to this customer. And they do that utilizing IT service management. So anytime that they have some type of identity issue within this particular customer's environment, or whenever they have something that they needed adhered or changed to within Office 365, they utilize ServiceNow to effectively interact between the managed service provider and this end customer. And so that's a huge use case that this can be applied to. And then as you start to bake this out to how to incorporate service level agreements in the context of that, it can carry so much weight and benefit to these end user customers in the way in which that they interact with their MSPs, their partners and suppliers.
And then I think all roads, could very well lead to DeFi in that on that use case in the future as well. So that's super cool. Another thing that is good to note is when the baseline protocol was born, the idea was that organizations won't have to do integrations, right? Like one-off integrations with all of the different and that is still the resounding value proposition for baseline. You don't have to do integrations, and I think the PRVD stack is sort of our motto or sort of like our tagline, if you will, is sort of like, supercharge your ERP, and you just won't have to do any more integrations. And obviously it extends beyond just ERP systems, but I think that the fact that you don't have to do these one-off integrations, it will be a huge driver of adoption.
Yeah. Traditionally these organizations are doing customized integrations with each of their partners and suppliers. And this is a way in which Baseline can add to the ability to standardize the way in which that they go about that and can deploy that across their ecosystem very seamlessly. So that is one of the key value propositions here.
Yeah. Yes, I mean that's really sort of I think the update from my side. I mean, I if anyone else on the team wants to say some more stuff, I mean feel free. Samrat, I really appreciate your having us on today. Sorry for a bit of miscommunication on that. I mean that was on me. I think the time zone difference. All good though.
Ultimately, you're taking baseline forward, right? So it's all we're all part of the same class.
We're on the same squad, So anyway, thanks for having us.
No worries, and we look forward to looking at those production deployments that you've been talking about. And I hope that they help us get the standard ratified as soon as we can.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and to that point, very quickly, I constantly have to bring myself back to reality because we're having these conversations with customers and we're just all through this, everyone at DevCon, us here, we're still going through this education process. You're still seeing private permission implementation sprout up, new forms of them, new iterations or improving on current ones that are out there. So, it's an evolutionary process. And as Kyle has quite often said, internally here at Provide, that this is a long-term vision. It's going to take time for enterprise adoption. And the truth of the matter is that's what it's going to take. And the vision's only growing and we're seeing interest here still. And but there's really no way to get through it, but just to continue to build towards it. And, I just, want everyone to continue to keep the confidence in the baseline protocol, because
the cool thing about the public, I want to touch on one thing, because I don't mean to interrupt, Jack. You said, there's still a lot of private blockchain like stuff going on. And, what's cool about how another project is leveraging the PRVD stack. There's a project that's coming up called the PRVD network. And that is a layer 3 network that also uses the Provide stack, that is also using the baseline protocol, that is also using ZK Sync, and is also, basically like allowing a very interesting possibility for outer inner curve, zero knowledge proof, recursion. And so I don't know if we'll be able to show that next week on the show, but in terms, it's coming, right? And so that's really, going to that, because the network is public permissionless, that PRVD network. And so if you have a layer 3 network that's public permissionless, and you can settle that on Polygon, for example, that's public permissionless, and you really start to see DeFi come to fruition on the Ethereum mainnet. So it's exciting.
Yeah, and things like doing like an enterprise DeFi, like an invoice factoring, we're seeing a real uptake of awareness inside of the SAP community about what's the actual business proposition there, right? Thinking about settling payments faster, and but also before you even get to that step, and that's often a use case, enterprise use case people know about, when you're thinking about how goods issues or goods receipts happen across warehouses, and how you want that to trigger payments, or financing, that's a huge area of to implement baseline into, right? That's a huge context that we bring Pro UBC in the IDOC context and other integrations across SAP into as well. So
and we can overlay provide payments, that's a commercial offering, right? On top of Shuttle, so not to confuse the open source aspects. So everything we've been talking about today, other than Shuttle and provide payments, are completely open source under the PRVD Oasis repo, and represented will very soon be represented within the pull request on BRI1, which we think would be we think it'll be a very good, at least, example for the test harness, if not able to be developed into the official test harness for the baseline protocol.
And how is Provide Sync open source?
Provide Sync is not. That's so that's fair. So the connect Provide Sync is actually not open source. Thanks, Mark. You're right. But Provide Sync is one other one. Pro UBC though is 100% open source. And so the idea for Pro UBC is to really because it's complex, one, give it away, right, and let folks collaborate on it and have sort of the open source model, but also really reduce the barriers to getting something certified. So all of a sudden, organizations like Kona can fork Pro UBC and certify it on their own, and it's just really going to reduce the barrier to entry. And that's we just think that model is going to be very fruitful for the community.
Because the funny thing is, I keep asking the question all the time, and I'm like, how do I respond if somebody comes up to me and says, I love this, how do I get baseline? Can you get me baseline by next Friday?
Yeah,
exactly. The idea is that the answer to that is almost.
Yeah.
Almost.
But it'll be better than it
almost. It's just it's going to be so turnkey with Shuttle. I'm sorry, Samrat, I didn't mean to speak over you.
Well, it's good to be at almost right now, considering from where we are coming and where we are going. So that's amazing.
And in the same way that's almost, you're seeing these ZK EVMs being launched right now. Some are in testnet, some are moving to mainnet.
We've had a ZK EVM fork going since before it launched. yeah, it's still it's coming. That's for the network project, which is sort of a skunkworks pet project of mine.
So here is something which I would like to drop and sort of get everybody's views on. So Malaysian government, a few days back, they announced that they are going to introduce a government blockchain. Now that becomes the sole place for people and the place of choice, for people to drop proofs and become Bitcoin compliant. They don't have to worry about anything now because
that's right.
The government has said, we're just going to believe what is here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I was blown. I mean, I was torn on two sides. One was, okay, is this leaving me? Is this leaving us any public in the public blockchain part? And the other
I think it does, because what you can do is you can have your layer 3, layer 2 configurable per your, at the work group level. And that's where your proofs propagate outward. And then layer 1 is also configurable. It's just a matter of it really I think all roads sort of lead back to the EVM there. In terms of that's what Shuttle makes things. So Shuttle makes in-chain easy to use for multiple networks, and so you could literally configure your layer 3, layer 2, layer 1 for your work group, and maybe a lot of people are concentrated on that that one configuration sort of setup, like maybe PRVD network, Polygon, Ethereum, but you never know. Maybe Malaysia has a layer 3 of their own, right? Maybe that's the layer 3. Maybe it's the layer 2. Maybe that's not legal. I don't know.
Yeah, my guess is just a layer 1.
You see, making it easy and configurable is really the name of the game.
Yeah.
And then interoperable, right?
The overwhelming trend through time is that the real money is on Ethereum. Right.
Yeah, I mean,
there's when there's a bridge exploit, people bring the money back to Ethereum, right?
Yeah.
And who's poor? the people left on the alternative layer 1, right? So that's why we're such an ETH focused organization, both baseline and provide, right? Everyone in this ecosystem is I think is typically have that mindset anyway, but
and I mean, I've met with Anatoly before. Solana has its merits, and it's also got its drawbacks, right? Just like any other technology. But we're definitely in the Ethereum camp, and I think that it's very I'm still excited, we're still cranking over here, and
awesome.
It's very humbling to be to still be here. And to still see this thing cranking, right? To see where it's at today from where it started, right when the pandemic was actually starting. It's very cool to see it that we've made it this far, and that it's gonna get there.
Super. So with that, let's bring today's show to a close, and we look forward to hosting you all with the demos. Sometime very, very soon. And with that, so I we bring the October General Assembly to a close. I would just like to bring back something which most of us may remember. Here is something, you may hear it very feeble, but I'll still play it.
Baseline. Is that what we're going with?
Hear it.
I can hear it in my head still.
Yeah. There we go.
Nicely done.
Which I thought was a little bit more of a, kind of youthful thing from the Magic Bus. I mean, I love classical stuff. I love flu stuff, but the whole I want it.
Samrat, thank you for hosting.
Thank you, everybody.
See you next week, man.
See you.
Thanks, guys.